You ever have a neighbor yell across your own front gate? The community has claimed this space like it's some kind of royal proclamation. Yeah, that happened to me. Loud enough for a whole busload of strangers to hear. And believe me, the worst part was how everybody just nodded along, dragging coolers and lawn chairs right across my pasture, acting like this was their personal campground for the weekend. Meanwhile, I'm standing there thinking, did I miss a memo? Did my home stop being mine overnight? And nobody bothered to tell me. My animals were crammed into corners. My fences got treated like party decorations, and I just stood there trying to process how a person could stroll in, claim your land, and convince a crowd it's perfectly normal. Go ahead, drop a comment. What would you do if someone shouted that at your gate? Honestly, that day started out as just another Tuesday on the ranch. I was checking calves, making sure their water was fresh, keeping their feed clean. The little ones were teething, so I was extra careful because anything dirty in that water could wipe out a whole season's work in no time flat. That's when I heard the deep rumble of a diesel engine at my gate. First came a charter bus, then 3 minivans packed full of families. I watched in total disbelief as folks poured out coolers, slamming down folding chairs, popping open tents everywhere, 60 strangers, not a single one knocking on my door or even calling ahead, just moving in like they own the joint. I was half expecting to find a legal notice nailed to my barn or something, thinking maybe the county had condemned my ranch for public use. But this was no misunderstanding. No, someone had planned this with military precision. That someone was Denise Harper, a woman I'd seen running the show at every HOA meeting in the next neighborhood over. She wore a lanyard with a shiny badge, a clipboard in her hands with my land highlighted in bright yellow stamped Phase 1 seizure, like she was surveying a battlefield. She was barking orders tables by the fence-line food stations at the gate park in the east pasture where my livestock usually graze. It was like she'd rented out my place without ever asking me. Every blade of grass that crowd trampled was a reminder of how hard I'd worked to keep this land healthy. This was my livelihood, not a public park. My animals depended on me, and now they were huddled away spooked by all the noise dust and chaos. So I finally forced myself to walk over and ask as politely as I could, "Excuse me, but this is my property. What's going on here, Denise?" Just barely looked up, all business. "The association board has designated this area for overflow events," she said as if she was explaining the rules to a kindergartner. I swear my jaw nearly hit the ground. Designated. I've owned this ranch for 15 years, worked every inch of it through drought and flood. Now suddenly it's a communal playground. She told me individual ownership doesn't override collective expansion. Mason, like she was reciting a gospel. She claimed property values only rise when everyone obeys the board. The arrogance, man, it just floored me. Meanwhile, her crowd was kicking up dust clouds, freaking out my herd, possibly tracking God knows what disease right into my pens. If any of my animals got sick, I'd be the one stuck with the bills, thousands of dollars, maybe a whole year's profit down the drain. And while I'm chewing on all that, I spot their neighborhood recreation area signs, big, glossy, clearly printed weeks in advance. This was no potluck. Someone had moved my boundary stakes overnight, stealing several feet of land by simply shifting the markers. My father always warned me, people will take what they can, either with a smile or a lawsuit. Suddenly his words felt prophetic. Then Denise started demanding I let them use my electricity. I figured, you know what? If you're so official, you don't need my outlets. So I walked over to the breaker box and flipped every switch. The silence that followed, it was glorious. For the first time, people stopped and looked around, really seeing the place. Some started pulling their kids back from the animals, whispering, "Did we just trespass?" That was all it took to shake their confidence. But Denise wasn't done. She whipped out a surveyor's map, bold as brass, with my ranch marked Phase 1 Community Seizure. Now I was shaking. This was premeditated fraud, plain and simple. But just like that, Denise's mask slipped. She switched from dictator to PR manager, adjusting a phone tripod and going live online. Neighborhood cooperation benefits everyone's land values, she chirped, pulling and smiling neighbors for the camera, acting like I was the Grinch ruining their party. For a second, I almost caved. Maybe I was being too hard. Maybe I could compromise. Then I saw my calves nervous, scared, looking to me for protection. That snapped me back to reality. Denise trotted out an elderly neighbor, shoving her into the live stream as a human shield. Would you ruin her special day? The emotional blackmail was shameless, so I pulled out my phone and called 911. I need a deputy. There's a trespassing situation on my ranch. Denise's face dropped. Law enforcement showed up. Deputy Martinez, all business. He looked over Denise's stack of papers. Ma'am, these are internal HOA memos, not legal permits. HOA jurisdiction ends at your boundary line. Period. You could feel the mood shift. Suddenly, folks started packing up, some apologizing. Turns out Denise had told them I'd approved this, showed them fake paperwork, even made them do ranch safety training. That was total nonsense. I called the county health inspector next, hoping someone could back me up about contamination risk. While I waited, I pointed out to anyone who'd listen, one muddy boot in the wrong place and you could wipe out an entire herd. Some people got it and left. Others kept making excuses. Denise, though, she gathered her inner circle and started a new angle. We're not leaving until this is resolved. Mason has responsibilities to the community. Her speeches got more desperate, more political, but the crowd kept shrinking. Deputy Martinez warned her, leave now or face arrest. Most people left. The diehards, though, cornered me, 5 board members blocking my porch, waving fines and mandatory assessments at me, stacking their folders like a paper wall. They claimed ownership isn't absolute when it harms neighbors. The whole thing felt like a grown-up version of schoolyard bullying, just with more paperwork. Then came the twist. Sarah Williams, the board secretary, looked uneasy the whole time. I started snapping photos, recording video, documenting every violation and license plate. Sarah quietly slipped away, then came back and pulled me aside. I have documents the county inspector should see, she whispered, her hands shaking. She showed me a folder, months of group chat screenshots titled Ranch Acquisition Timeline. My name was in there along with detailed notes on how to break me down my income, my schedule, even my lack of immediate family. They'd planned everything. Contingencies for resistance, legal loopholes, even instructions on how to smear my reputation if I fought back. When I showed Ellen, the health inspector, the color drained from her face. This wasn't just trespassing, it was a conspiracy with criminal intent, months in the making. Ellen got right to work photographing every health code violation, collecting water samples, documenting how Denise's invasion had endangered my animals. Deputy Martinez connected the dots. Turns out Denise had pulled similar stunts at least 3 times before. As word got out, even more residents turned against her, some furious that they'd been used as pawns in a land grab. But Denise, she doubled down, tried to blackmail Ellen, then tried to bribe Sarah to delete the files. When that failed, she snapped full meltdown, screaming about how property rights are destroying America, tossing papers, blaming me for everything. I didn't need to gloat. The law spoke for itself. Ellen handed out $800 in health code citations. Deputy Martinez slapped $300 in fines for trespassing, and the board scattered. Within 48 hours, the HOA held an emergency meeting. Denise was booted. Sarah took over, and new bylaws were rushed through, so nothing like this could ever happen again. The county attorney launched a fraud investigation. Denise was barred from holding office, hit with restitution, and faced so much public shame she lost her consulting business, her reputation, and pretty much any friends she had left. The story went statewide, became a case study, and how not to run an HOA sparked new county guidelines, even got cited in agricultural law seminars. Sarah turned into a real advocate for transparency. Deputy Martinez used our ordeal to train his department about land rights. The county extension office held land law workshops and biocurity classes, all because of that one crazy Tuesday. Now fences are marked clear. Neighbors wave respectfully from the road, and any events on my ranch are planned the right way. Permits, insurance, biocurity, the whole 9 yards. Sunset over my pasture looks sweeter than ever these days. So tell me, what would you have done if a neighbor tried to claim your land in broad daylight? Ever had to fight off a scheme like that? Or maybe you've seen an HOA push too far? Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you'd handle it, or if you think I should have done something different. If this story fired you up, hit like share with someone who loves a good plot twist, and don't forget, always guard your boundaries. Good neighbors respect them, great neighbors help protect them. Thanks for listening.